What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Fantasy Football. My name is Ryan Linkletter, and today we are tackling the late round quarterback strategy, one of the most popular quarterback strategies over the past few seasons. And this year in 2025, there's been a little bit of rumors, a little bit of stir that this strategy might not be as good. I'm here to tell you right now the strategy is just as good waiting on a quarterback this year, despite some of the high rushing upside quarterbacks having premier prices this year heading into the year. Right now, and currently, my rankings and a lot of people's rankings, there's a clear division in quarterbacks right now. You obviously have Josh Allen at the top, who's been the quarterback one or quarterback two basically every year of his career. Then you have Jayden Daniels and Lamar Jackson that, when healthy and on the field, they're going to have elite rushing upside and are incredible playmakers. They are the QB2, QB3, QB4, and QB5 are Burrow and Jalen Hurts. We all know Hurts has one of the safest floors in the NFL due to the tush push still being allowed. And then Joe Burrow, obviously with a bad defense in Cincinnati, is going to have elite passing volume and one of the best stacks if you compare him with Jamar Chase. Now, after that point, it gets a little bit murkier in the middle rounds. You have Patrick Mahomes, who has struggled over the past few seasons and hasn't been very viable in fantasy football. Bo Nix is ascending and could be a good value pick, a guy that I really like there. Baker Mayfield had a career year last year, but has no history of consistent production in fantasy football. Then you mix in some other players like Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, and some other names mixed in that back half of the quarterback ones. And those are your top 12 rankings heading into this year. Now, there are a lot of good options in there, and a lot of them might fall into your lap, and you might say, hey, these guys are good options. But realistically, there is so much upside and a way better way to attack the quarterback position heading into the 2025 fantasy football season. So let's hop right into this video and discuss why late round quarterbacks are just as good. Here's a thread that I posted the other day, and clearly, one of the biggest things is the stats behind this. And quarterback one to quarterback 12 has a 31.66% drop off in points. RB1 to RB12 has a 41% drop off. Tight end 1 to tight end 12 has a 45.75% drop off. Historically speaking, quarterbacks have the least variance between the quarterback 1 and quarterback 12, which is why the strategy is so effective. Last year, the top 12 quarterbacks in order were Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Jayden Daniels, Jared Goff, Bo Nix, Jalen Hurts, Sam Darnold, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes. Now, looking at the correlations between these guys, I went through and found the EPA per pass of each of these offenses, and while also I found where they were drafted and then the rushing yards of these quarterbacks, and I felt all three of these correlators are a good way to measure production in fantasy football. As you can see, the Ravens ranked first in passing efficiency last year. Buffalo was second, Cincinnati eighth. Cincinnati was eighth, but had the highest volume in the NFL in the passing game. Tampa Bay was fifth. Washington was fourth. Detroit third. Denver was an outlier at 16th, and partly because they had no running game there, but Bo Nix, rushing upside. Philadelphia was seventh. Minnesota 12th. Arizona 11th. Chargers 13th. And then Kansas City 10th. Basically, if you are not within the top 12 teams, you don't have a great chance of being on this list unless you have high rushing upside. And then here's where those quarterbacks were drafted last year. You had Josh Allen going fourth, second in terms of quarterbacks for Lamar. You have Joe Burrow heading eighth, and then 23rd, which I believe is Baker. Yeah, Baker at 23rd out of quarterbacks, which was nuts. He was literally exactly why we have a late draft quarterback situation. Jayden Daniels was 10th. And then you had Jared Goff 16th, another guy drafted outside of the top 12. Bo Nix at 28. And then you have Jalen Hurts at third. Obviously, Hurts cashed in on that value despite him missing a few games. After that, you have Sam Darnold at 22nd, another guy outside of that top 12 group. At seventh, you have Kyler Murray, decently cashed in on his value, but still really frustrating last year. And then Justin Herbert in the 17th, which really good value as well. Patrick Mahomes was the first, and this is all according to Fantasy Pros Insider rankings, which are a little bit more accurate than the typical rankings. Now, after that point, there were only two quarterbacks on that top 12 list that had under 300 rushing yards inside of the top 12. Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, and both these guys ranked in the top 10 in efficiency and EPA per play with their passing offenses. So basically, in order to be a quarterback one, you either need an elite passing offense in terms of EPA, or you have to have a rushing upside in order to find that QB1 value. Now, this makes a lot of quarterbacks less safe. We saw CJ Stroud drafted in this group last year. nowhere near a quarterback one on a consistent basis because he has no rushing upside. And the Texans' offense completely fell apart from a passing standpoint last year. So let's find a way to effectively utilize this strategy in drafts. And we're going to be drafting at the end of a draft right now and see if we can go through and, make this thing work right here. We're going to claim the 9 spot. Let me share my screen for you guys here. We'll claim this 9 spot right here. Turn off the sound on Sleeper and start this draft. Saquon going 101 in the half PPR format. Not ideal by any means, but we're going to find a way. And who are we going to fall with here? We have Amon-Ra, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr., Derrick Henry, Brock Bowers, Drake London. I think at this point, it's really hard to kind of pass on Amon-Ra. He's just so consistent. I think a lot of people are down on him this year, and rightfully so. I think he is in for a little bit of regression, but I think him above Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London still makes sense for me. And then the back half of my turn, absolutely love getting Genty at that point. Stack Amon-Ra with Genty, and I get my wide receiver and running back anchor. I think with Genty, you have to trust that he's going to, be a major anchor in this offense for the Las Vegas Raiders heading into this year. And he's going to be, 300 plus touch guy as a rookie. And then you can see the way this thing shook out here. We have Josh Allen going at the 208. We have Lamar Jackson going at the 303. And then we have Jayden Daniels dropping to the 307. So already at this point, we have our top 3 quarterbacks gone. And honestly, I like a stack like this with Team 5 here. You get CeeDee Lamb, Josh Allen, and Chase Brown. I think this is a really solid build right there. Don't know how much I love this build right here. I think this Team 3 is okay. But I think if you do go quarterback heavy, you have to split running back and wide receiver so you prevent being screwed over at that position as the draft goes on. At this point right here, I don't really love the value of some of these players. I think Garrett Wilson's solid. Kyron Williams, I'm fading at this current point. Marvin Harrison Jr., Mike Evans, James Cook, another guy I don't like. George Kittle, Rashee. I think I'm going to go Rashee Rice, a guy that I've been preaching at this point who, is last year. I think this is a perfect example to show you guys. He was an absolute monster to start the season. He is a true elite wide receiver one. It looks like he's going to be a full go this year with no suspension. He's a great value anytime in the 3rd round. I have gone as high as the 2nd round picking Rashee Rice this year. So I think Rashee Rice is a great pick in a lot of formats right now. And that is awesome to see there that he's available at the 309. At the turn right now, it gets a little interesting. Obviously, I think there's some good players here. We kind of get into a little bit of a dead zone. And I think in half PPR, Alvin Kamara is interesting, but I think in PPR, I think I would lock him in at this point, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, we are going to go with let's see. I think we're going to go with a wide receiver heavy approach here. DJ Moore is my highest rated player that's still available. I think Moore is in for a really solid season with Ben Johnson as the the head coach now in Chicago. And I think he's going to find a way to get his best playmaker the ball in his hands. DJ Moore is still really productive coming off a 1,300-yard season in 2023. Last year was a down year. Should be much better this year with Ben Johnson at the helm. So we're going to have to find a way to get a running back at the 5. And I don't think it's going to be necessarily the hard part. And I do like a lot of the rookies here between rounds 6 and 7. No meme intended there, but I think we do have a good chance of landing one of those guys. So let's see what happens and who we fall right here. I do think Chuba Hubbard is probably the best value out of any of these picks right here at the 505. Really solid selection there. As far as the guys that we have available, as you can see, Jalen Hurts is now gone. Joe Burrow is now gone. Burrow went 311. Hurts went 407. That's a hefty price to pay, especially in half PPR. And we've already formatted a really solid lineup there. I think, where I'm leaning right now. This could be interesting. So as far as like the wide receiver position goes, and we're trying to stick with what we're doing here, I'm going to go tight end premium here. We're going to get Sam Laporta here at the 509 and give ourselves a really strong tight end option. Pairing him with Amon-Ra is definitely a little bit risky considering the fact this Lions team is run first, but I think having him and, just based on the guys available, it makes a ton of sense. Mahomes goes at the turn and so does Mayfield. So by round 603 in a half PPR formats, we have all the top quarterbacks basically gone at this point. And it makes it a little bit interesting based on kind of where we're looking. I think here at the 604, I have to go RJ Harvey here. RJ Harvey, outside of all the other guys that, are still available, is by far my highest rated player. Harvey's going to be a perfect fit for Sean Payton in Denver. As you can see, Pacheco, Aaron Jones. I think that's the perfect point. RJ Harvey right above David Montgomery. I have him above James Conner as well. Really solid value there, as you guys can see. Jared Goff goes 701. Bo Nix goes 704. And we are still waiting on that quarterback. Kyler Murray, now he's gone. And as you guys can see, only Team two and us are the only two teams without a quarterback, and we're going to be able to get a quarterback, that we do really like with high upside still available out there, which is nice to see. At this point here, I probably would have waited on a tight end if I knew Kelsey was going to be available, but still really nice to see him there. And I think in half PPR, based on some of the guys available, I'm going to go with my guy, Caleb Johnson here, who I think is truly a great value right now in drafts. His early down work is, a lock right now. And I think that it feels really comfortable getting him there. And I would pick him over Quinshon Judkins, just like I did in a lot of situations. And then kind of based on the running backs available, as you can see, big drop off there. So I'm glad that we were able to secure a running back in that spot. As far as some of the other players available, I think I'm going to have to go with my guy, Jacoby Myers here. Really safe value, gives us a solid wide receiver 4 in the wide receiver 1 for the Raiders. And we still have not gone with the quarterback in the first 8 rounds. And I think we're in a good spot to go pick up a quarterback. As you can see, team 2 goes with the quarterback there. And we are the only ones left without a quarterback. And we still have a lot of wiggle room to see with what we want to do. Purdy and Herbert go there. Golden goes there. Let's see. Tucker Kraft, a player that I really like. But with Laporta, don't know how much sense that makes going 2 tight ends. I think it gets interesting here as far as the top 12 quarterbacks. My highest rated quarterback available is Justin Fields right now. I'm going to wait on him because it looks like he'll still be available. We could probably stack him with another player that's high upside here in a second. As far as the running backs go, it's a little interesting there. I know I need another one. I'm going to go with a running back here, and I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet, one of the highest fantasy points per touch players over the past few seasons. I think Charbonnet could be in for a solid workload again this year, and Kenneth Walker's really struggled with injuries throughout his career. Heading into the turn, it looks like we'll be fine at the quarterback position. If we want to go get one here, let's take a look. You have Caleb Williams here, and I do think Caleb Williams is one of those guys priced with outside of the top 12 that makes a ton of sense, but I'm not going to go with him. I'm going to go with my highest rated player, and that's Justin Fields right now. Fields, we all know the rushing upside. We all know what he can do at the quarterback position. He's limited in the passing game, but he runs a ton, and rushing upside is one of the 2 correlators that we are for sure looking for. As you guys can see, a little bit of a run on quarterbacks here as backups. Jawan Jennings goes at 1102. That's a solid value there. I really like, though, where we're stacking up here. As far as the guys available go, we could go quarterback here. Let's see. Are they going to be? Yeah, I'm gonna go with my second quarterback here, and we're going to go with Drake Maye. Drake Maye is similar in the fact that he has high rushing upside, ranked as one of the top rushers available in terms of quarterbacks last year, and his fantasy points per game were in the top 12 when he was a full-time starter. So he makes a ton of sense that he could be a top 12 guy for us because he's shown that in the past. As far as some of the other guys that I like in this late quarterback draft strategy, right, you have Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields, JJ McCarthy, and Drake Maye. All are really solid options, and even you can mix in Bryce Young and AR into that conversation, able to secure yourself a high upside option. And we got played there. No other quarterbacks selected. As far as closing out this draft, let's see who we really, really want to attack. Let's see. I think at this point, we got 3 rounds left, I'm going to lock in Isaac Guerrero here at the 1204 and get ourselves that premier handcuff of the year. Obviously, we know McCaffrey's coming off the Achilles. Who knows what we're going to get for him in 2025. So I really like that selection right there. And you already know we're not picking a kicker or defense. This is a typical mock draft for us here. Best available player. I'm going to go with 2 guys I haven't really talked about a ton this year. Let's go Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason right behind Aaron Jones. I think Mason knows his opportunities are, going to improve in Minnesota behind Aaron Jones, who is very old at this point, struggled with injuries, and he gets to be paired with KOC, who always is a running back gold mine for us. And then we'll go get us a wide receiver here off the bench. Who do I love at this point? Rashad Bateman had one of the most interesting years last year, led all of wide receivers in fantasy points per touch, but I don't know how much I love him there. As far as the tight ends go, who do we got? I'm going to go stack Hunter Henry with Drake Maye. Hunter Henry was Drake Maye's favorite target last year, wound up finishing as the tight end 12, and he was much better than that when Maye took over as a starter. I like Hunter Henry this year to be a little bit sneaky and potentially work into that tight end one conversation, and that's how we were able to shake out with our quarterback, you know, like quarterback type strategy. As you guys can see, we got Justin Fields, Ashton Genty, RJ Harvey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rasheed Rice, Sam Laporta, DJ Moore. And on the bench, we have Caleb Johnson, Jacoby Myers, Zach Charbonnet, Drake Maye, Isaac Guerrero, Jordan Mason, Hunter Henry. The late quarterback strategy, folks, is as active as ever. And, it is a great way to go through and have a great fantasy football draft, stacking elite talent at the wide receiver, running back position, potentially even getting that premier tight end and finding a way to go through and still get that quarterback one upside late in drafts. Don't let anybody convince you. It is still just as good as it's always been. If you are interested in more of my content, make sure you give me a follow at blitzlink_ on X. And make sure you hit that subscribe button on this Blitz Fantasy Football channel for more content throughout the season. I will catch you guys next time.